Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive. We're tackling the 5 a.m. club today. It's all about, reaching your full potential and creating a life that's truly, well, legendary, just like the book says. Robin Sharma, the author, takes us on this journey with these characters. He's got an entrepreneur who's like totally burned out.
Yeah.
And then there's this artist who's, lost his inspiration. They both end up at this like super exclusive personal optimization conference.
Yeah, it's a really clever way to explore these big questions about life and what it means to be successful. Sharma uses this like conference setting to introduce this really charismatic speaker. They call him the spellbinder, and he shakes things up. He challenges the entrepreneur and the artist to examine why they haven't, achieved the level of fulfillment they're looking for.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to them,
Right.
making them see that they might be chasing the wrong things. The Spellbinder is all about recognizing that we can get trapped in routines and that sometimes we're going after things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. He wants them to embrace those challenges and, step outside their comfort zones to create a life that's actually meaningful.
Right. And then there's this really unexpected twist. They meet a homeless man at this like high-end conference, and he just drops this wisdom: own your morning, elevate your life. I mean, isn't that powerful? It turns out this isn't just any homeless man. It's this billionaire named Mr. Riley, and he invites them to his private island, Mauritius, to mentor them.
Talk about a plot twist, right?
Wait,
So their mission is to learn all about how to create a world-class morning routine. I got to say, I'm hooked already.
yeah.
So what exactly is this 5 a.m. club all
Yeah.
about?
Well, the main thing is that Mr. Riley believes in waking up at 5 a.m. It's all about maximizing your productivity and, of course, your health and overall well-being. He introduces them to what he calls the 20-20-20 formula. The idea is to spend the first hour of your day, divide it into 20 minutes of exercise, then 20 minutes of like reflection or meditation, and then 20 minutes of learning something new or working on personal growth.
It sounds a lot like what the Spellbinder was saying. It's one thing to dream big, but you have to actually do something, take action.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Riley actually takes them to visit a Formula One pit crew to make this point. He shows them how even the smallest mistake can have huge consequences in a high-pressure situation like that. It's a powerful lesson that discipline and attention to detail are crucial for achieving excellence, no matter what you're doing.
Wow, yeah, that analogy really puts it into perspective. It's not about these big sweeping changes, it's about those small details.
Yeah.
Mastering those fundamentals and, as he says, sweating the small stuff.
So how does self-control, and willpower play into all this? Well, I think one of the things that makes the book so relatable is that Mr. Riley is really honest about his own struggles with self-control. He talks about how he's had to work at it. And it shows the entrepreneur and the artist that, even a billionaire faces these internal battles. It emphasizes that self-mastery is an ongoing journey no matter what you've achieved.
That's such a good point,
Hmm.
because it's so easy to think that successful people have it all figured out.
Yeah.
But this book shows us that we all face challenges,
Yeah.
and it's about pushing past your comfort zone and committing to becoming a better version of yourself.
Right, exactly. Now, there's this really important concept in the book that I think we should talk about. It's the idea of the four empires: mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set.
4 empires. Okay, tell me more about this.
So you can think of these as like the pillars of achieving mastery in your life. Mr. Riley says you need a strong mindset, a compassionate heart, a healthy body, and a, fulfilled soul to achieve true greatness.
Okay, I'm following you. We've got the entrepreneur and the artist, soaking up all this wisdom in this amazing setting. But I'm guessing things aren't always like sunshine and roses. There's got to be some conflict, right?
You're right. Things definitely get a little complicated. The entrepreneur, who starts off pretty closed off, starts to open up about her struggles. She reveals that she's received a death threat from her investors, and she shares some painful experiences from her childhood. It's a really vulnerable moment for her, and it sets her on this path of healing and self-discovery.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that life can throw us some pretty unexpected curveballs. But what really matters is how we choose to respond to those challenges. It shapes who we become. So how does this 5 a.m. club philosophy help them deal with these challenges?
So both the entrepreneur and the artist, they start to grow significantly during their time in Mauritius. The entrepreneur, she starts to face her fears. And as she overcomes the challenges, she begins to, rebuild her life on her own terms this time. The artist, he reconnects with his passion, he finds inspiration and even love on the island.
It sounds like they're not just changing their mornings, they're changing their whole perspective.
Exactly. It shows how powerful it can be to own your morning. It can have this ripple effect that impacts your work, your relationships, your health, and even your overall happiness. It's not just about getting up early, it's about setting the tone for a more intentional life.
Okay, that's the why, right? The reason why owning your morning is so powerful. But what about the how? How do they actually structure this 20-20-20 formula?
So, Mr. Riley is very specific about how to structure that first hour, he says. 20 minutes of intense exercise to get your blood pumping and energy flowing. Then 20 minutes of reflection, journaling, things like that, to clarify your thoughts and set your intentions for the day. And then finally, 20 minutes of learning or personal growth. Reading, listening to a podcast, working on a skill.
Having that structure makes it seem so much more doable.
Right.
It's not like you're trying to change your whole life overnight. It's those small steps that really make a difference.
And that brings us to one of the more, intriguing ideas in the book, the 90901 rule. Mr. Riley explains it like this. You spend the first 90 minutes of your workday focused on your single most important task for the next 90 days.
It's like this 90-day sprint where you're laser focused on one goal to achieve a breakthrough in one area.
Exactly. It's all about getting rid of distractions and just giving all your energy to what truly matters. Mr. Riley says that by focusing on that one task first thing, you set yourself up for success and create momentum for the rest of the day.
That's so interesting. But being that focused sounds, well, a bit intense. Like it could lead to burnout. Does the book talk about that?
Yes, and this is where the concepts of high excellence cycles and deep refueling cycles come in. Mr. Riley is a big believer in balancing those periods of intense work with time for rest and recovery. He suggests something called the 60-10 method, which is basically working for 60 minutes and then taking a 10-minute break to, recharge.
That definitely sounds more sustainable than like pushing yourself for hours on end. I know when I do that, I just end up feeling drained and get way less done.
Exactly. The key is to completely disconnect during those breaks. Step away from your computer, go for a walk, meditate, listen to music, anything that helps you relax and clear your head.
It's like hitting the reset button for your brain so you can come back feeling focused and ready to go.
Exactly. Mr. Riley even takes it a step further with what he calls deep refueling cycles. These are longer periods, like entire days or even weeks, dedicated to rest and recovery. And he makes these a regular part of the weekly and quarterly schedule.
So it's not just those 10-minute breaks, but giving yourself full days or even weeks off to really recharge.
That's right. He recommends taking at least 2 full days off every week. And he calls them zero device days. No technology, no work, no obligations. And every quarter, he suggests taking even more time off, maybe a week, a month, or even longer, to truly unplug and reconnect with yourself.
Wow, 2 whole days of just disconnecting completely. That sounds incredible. But realistically, I know not everyone can just take weeks off every few months.
That's true, but the main point here is that prioritizing breaks and rest, however much you can manage, is crucial for staying productive and healthy in the long run.
It's like you're investing in yourself. You're giving your mind and body what they need to operate at their best.
And speaking of investing in yourself, there's another concept that Robin Sharma introduces through Mr. Riley. He calls it the 2WW. It stands for 2 Weekend Wonder.
Okay, I'm curious. 2 Weekend Wonder. So instead of, just relaxing or vegging out on the weekends, you're using that time for personal growth or even adventure.
Exactly. Mr. Riley encourages the entrepreneur and the artist to use their weekends, to learn new things, explore different places, or engage in activities that bring them joy and expand their horizons.
It's like turning the weekend into this opportunity for growth and rejuvenation, rather than just like recovering from the work week.
Yes, and that leads us to another concept, the 2MP. It stands for 2 masterpieces per week.
Wait, so on top of the 2 Weekend Wonder, we're also supposed to be creating 2 masterpieces every week. That sounds a little overwhelming, to be honest.
Oh, not at all. It's not as intense as it sounds. Mr. Riley explains that a masterpiece doesn't have to be, some grand work of art or a groundbreaking invention. It can be anything that makes you feel a sense of accomplishment or, fulfillment.
So things like finishing a tough project at work or writing a thoughtful letter to someone you care about, or maybe like learning to cook a new dish.
Exactly. The main point is to set aside time each week to do things you enjoy that challenge you in a creative way and that let you express yourself.
So it's about making sure you're not just going through the motions, but actually doing things that are meaningful to you.
And all of these principles, they all work together to achieve the ultimate role of the 5 a.m. Club, which is to create a life of legacy.
This is where it gets really deep. It's not just about, being successful or getting a lot done. It's about making a positive impact on the world
Yeah.
that lasts, even after you're gone.
Exactly. Mr. Riley really emphasizes that a true legacy. It's built on integrity, compassion, and a genuine desire to help others. He wants the entrepreneur and the artist to use their talents, their influence to, make the world a better place.
And he keeps reminding them that this is a journey, not a destination. It's about constantly striving to become better versions of ourselves and using what we have to offer to uplift those around us.
Yeah. If we think about what the Spellbinder said about embracing discomfort and pushing boundaries, it's clear that the 5 a.m. Club philosophy is about so much more than just the time you wake up.
It's about adopting a mindset of growth, discipline, and contribution, and using those routines to unlock your full potential.
It's like a call to action to create a life that has meaning and purpose and leads to extraordinary results.
So as we wrap up part one of our deep dive into the 5 a.m. Club, what really stands out to you? What are you taking away from exploring Robin Sharma's work?
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is that small, consistent actions can lead to huge transformations, whether it's getting up earlier, dedicating time to focused work, or prioritizing rest and recovery. Every choice we make, it shapes who we are.
That's a powerful thought. So if you were to join the 5 a.m. Club, what's one thing you would do differently tomorrow morning to start owning your day and, changing your life?
I think about the ideas that really resonated with you and choose one small step you can take to put those ideas into action. Maybe it's setting your alarm for 5 a.m. or taking 20 minutes to exercise, or even just committing to 90 minutes of focused work on your most important project.
Remember, even the smallest change, if you do it consistently, can lead to amazing results. So embrace the challenge, own your morning, and start building the life you've always wanted.
We're here rooting for you.
We'll be back soon with part two of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
When Mr. Riley took them to that Roman catacomb, it wasn't just like a random field trip. He was trying to teach them about how precious life is and how important it is to, really make the most of our time.
Okay, now I'm really interested. What was the message he was trying to get across in that kind of, unusual place?
He told them a story about this high-powered CEO who had a stroke out of nowhere, and it made him rethink his whole life. It was a big wake-up call for the CEO. And Mr. Riley used the story to remind the entrepreneur and the artist that we shouldn't put off living a meaningful life.
It's a good reminder, not to wait for the perfect time to pursue your passions or, nurture your relationships or even just contribute to the world.
Exactly. And, speaking of pursuing passions, the artist starts to come into his own during this part of the book. Remember how lost and kind of disillusioned he was at the beginning? Well, he starts to reconnect with his creativity. He finds inspiration in everything around him and even starts to fall in love.
Oh, that's great. It
And
sounds like this 5 a.m. Club philosophy is helping them unlock their full potential, not just in their work, but in their personal lives, too.
it really is. And as their adventure in Rome comes to an end, Mr. Riley gives them this parting gift, 10 magic charms. Each one represents a key lesson they've learned along the way.
I love that. It's like a tangible reminder of all the wisdom they've gained. What are some of these charms, and what do they stand for?
The first charm is a mirror. It symbolizes the importance of self-awareness. Mr. Riley tells them that to create magic in the world, you have to first recognize and own the magic within yourself.
So it's about understanding who you are, accepting yourself,
Yeah.
and how your perception of yourself influences how you interact with the world.
Exactly. And he emphasizes how important solitude and self-reflection are for achieving this. He tells them, and this is a really important point for all of us, that a flight from solitude is an escape from freedom. He encourages them to use the quiet time in the early morning to reconnect with themselves.
That's really thought-provoking. Makes you realize that true freedom comes from within. What's the next charm?
Well, the second charm is a flower. It represents the importance of choosing experiences over material possessions.
That connects back to what Mr. Riley believes, right?
Hmm?
About finding joy and magic in life instead of chasing money and status.
Right. He wants them to rediscover that sense of wonder that we all had as kids, to laugh more, dance more, play more. Just remember that life is supposed to be enjoyed, not just endured.
I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in being an adult that we forget to have fun. What about the third charm?
The third charm is a compass. It's there to remind them and us to trust our intuition and follow our hearts.
So it's about listening to that inner voice and having the courage to follow where it leads, even if it takes you off the well-worn path.
Precisely. Mr. Riley emphasizes that our gut feelings, our instincts, are often stronger than logic. He tells the entrepreneur and the artist to be brave enough to follow their hearts, even when it feels scary.
I'm noticing a theme here. Self-awareness, embracing experiences, trusting your intuition. It's all about being true to yourself, isn't it?
You got it. The fourth charm is a set of paints. It symbolizes the power of creativity and expressing yourself in your own unique way.
I bet the artist connected with that one, especially after he rediscovered his passion for painting.
Oh, definitely. Mr. Riley encourages them to embrace their creativity, not just in art, but in life. He wants them to see the world with fresh eyes, be open to possibilities, and, find new ways to solve problems.
So it's not just about being artistic, but bringing that creative energy to everything you do.
Yes. And that brings us to the fifth charm, a sunrise, which obviously symbolizes new beginnings and the power of, owning your morning.
It goes right back to the core message, the 5 a.m. club, doesn't it?
It does. It's a reminder that every day is a new opportunity to create the life you want.
And that by starting the day intentionally, you can set a positive tone for everything that follows.
The sixth charm is a handshake. It represents the importance of connection, strong relationships, and community.
That's been a recurring theme, hasn't it? The entrepreneur and the artist supporting each other, Mr. Riley being like a father figure to his team, even the spellbinder talked about connection.
Right. It's a reminder that we're not supposed to go through life alone. We do better when we connect with others, and those relationships give us support and a sense of belonging.
Okay, what's next? What's the seventh charm?
Seventh charm is a dumbbell. It stands for the importance of taking care of your physical health and how exercise can boost your energy and help you think more clearly.
Yes. Mr. Riley is all about those morning workouts. Remember the 20-20-20 tattoo on his hand?
Of course. This charm just reinforces the idea that physical well-being is essential for performing at your best in every area of your life.
It's all connected, mind, body, and spirit. What about charm number 8?
It's a stack of books, representing continuous learning and the idea that, as Mr. Riley puts it, the leader who learns the most wins.
Both the spellbinder and Mr. Riley emphasize being a lifelong learner, encouraging the entrepreneur and the artist to read, listen to audiobooks, and constantly seek out new knowledge.
Because knowledge is power, but only if we use it, right?
Exactly. It's not just about knowing a lot of facts. It's about applying what you learn to grow and make a difference.
Now, the ninth charm is a heart, symbolizing love, compassion, and generosity.
That reminds me of what Mr. Riley said. Success without soul is the ultimate defeat.
He really wants them to understand that true fulfillment comes from living with an open heart, loving deeply, and giving back to others.
It's a really beautiful message. All right, we've reached the final charm. What is it?
It's an hourglass, representing the fact that time is precious. And as Mr. Riley says, tomorrow is a bonus, not a right.
Wow, that's a powerful reminder. To appreciate our time and make the most of it. Seize the day, right?
Mr. Riley wants them to be bold, to take risks, pursue their passions, and really enjoy life, knowing that our time is limited.
It's about living without regrets and knowing that we only get this one chance to make an impact.
And as the entrepreneur and the artist get ready to go home, Mr. Riley gives them one last piece of advice. He reminds them that change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end.
So true. Transformation takes effort. There are going to be challenges along the way, but the rewards are worth it.
He reassures them that embracing the 5 a.m. club is a commitment to personal growth. It's a path to creating a life full of purpose, joy, and incredible results. And with that, their time in Mauritius comes to a close.
Wow, what an amazing journey. But before we move on, I want to hear more about those concepts we talked about earlier, the 90901 rule and the 60-10 method.
We'll definitely dive deeper into those and a few other key takeaways from the book in part 3 of our deep dive.
Okay, so let's get into those last key parts of the 5 a.m. club, the 90901 rule and the 60-10 method.
Yeah, they can really change things. The 90901 rule, remember we touched on it, it's about using the first 90 minutes of your workday for your most important task. And doing that for 90 days straight, it's a great way to focus and get amazing results.
So no checking email, new social media, nothing like that, right? Just pure focus on that one task for a full hour and a half.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is that there's like a scientific reason why it works. When we get rid of distractions and really focus, our brains enter this state called transient hypofrontality. It means the prefrontal cortex, the part that does planning and decision-making, it actually slows down a bit.
So we're giving our brains a break from all that overthinking, letting our creativity and intuition come through.
Exactly. And that's when those aha moments happen. That's when we make progress on our most important work.
It makes sense. like giving our brains the space to think outside the box. Okay, so that's the 90901 rule. How about the 60-10 method? What's that all about?
The 60-10 method is about working in focused bursts so you can keep your energy up and avoid burnout. Work for 60 minutes, take a 10-minute break to recharge.
It sounds so much better than like trying to power through for hours. I always end up feeling drained and less productive when I do that.
I know, right? And during those 10-minute breaks, it's important to actually disconnect. Get up from your desk, go for a walk, maybe meditate, listen to music, anything that relaxes you.
It's like hitting a reset button for your mind so you can get back to work feeling refreshed and ready to focus.
Right. And Mr. Riley takes it a step further. He calls it deep refueling cycles. These are longer breaks for real rest and recovery. And he schedules them into his week and even into the whole year.
So we're talking more than just those 10-minute breaks, right? Like entire days or even weeks off to really recharge.
Yeah. He recommends taking at least 2 full days off every week. No technology, no work, no obligations. He calls them zero device days. And then every 3 months, he takes even more time. Could be a week, could be a month, or even longer to fully disconnect and reconnect with himself.
2 whole days of disconnecting. I can't even imagine. It sounds amazing, but honestly, not everyone can take weeks off every few months.
You're right, but the main takeaway is that we need to make time for breaks. Regular breaks and longer periods of rest, however much you can manage. It's the key to staying productive and healthy in the long run.
It's like you're making an investment
Yeah.
in yourself. You're giving your mind and body what they need to work at their best.
Speaking of investing in yourself, Robin Sharma introduces another idea through Mr. Riley. He calls it the 2WW, short for 2 Weekend Wonder.
Okay, that sounds interesting. What is that? 2 weekend wonder. So instead of just like chilling out on the weekends, you're using that time to learn new things or go on adventures.
Yep, that's it. He wants the entrepreneur and the artist to spend their weekends learning new skills or exploring new places or doing anything that brings them joy and helps them grow as people.
It's about making your weekends count, right? Using that time to grow and recharge, not just recover from the week.
Exactly. And then there's the 2MP, short for 2 masterpieces per week.
2 masterpieces per week. Okay, that sounds like a lot. On top of the weekend wonder thing.
No, it's not that bad, really. Mr. Riley says a masterpiece doesn't have to be some amazing work of art or something super complicated. It can be anything that you're proud of, something that gives you a feeling of satisfaction.
So like completing a challenging project at work, or writing a nice letter to someone you care about, or maybe like learning a new skill.
Exactly. It's just about setting aside time each week to do things that are meaningful to you, that you enjoy, and that let you use your talents.
It's about making sure your life is more than just going through the motions, that you're actually creating something with your time.
Yeah. And all of these principles, they all come together to support the main idea of the 5 a.m. Club, which is creating a legacy.
This is what makes it so powerful, I think. It's not just about being successful or getting things done. It's about making a positive impact that lasts, even after you're gone.
Exactly. Mr. Riley tells them that a true legacy is built on integrity, compassion, and giving back to others. He wants the entrepreneur and the artist to use their skills and their influence to, leave the world a better place than they found it.
And he reminds them that it's not a race, it's a journey. You just keep working on becoming the best version of yourself day after day and using your talents to help others.
When we think about what the Spellbinder said about embracing challenges and pushing yourself, it's obvious that the 5 a.m. Club is about way more than just waking up at 5 a.m.
It's about adopting a mindset of growth and discipline and using routines to reach your full potential.
It's a call to action, to create a life that's meaningful, that has purpose, and that leads to amazing results.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the 5 a.m. Club, what are your final thoughts? What will you take away from this exploration of Robin Sharma's book?
The most important thing for me is remembering that small changes, if you're consistent, they can really lead to big transformations. It could be waking up an hour earlier or making time for focused work or even just prioritizing rest. Everything we do matters. It shapes who we become.
That's such a powerful reminder. So I want to ask our listeners, if you were going to join the 5 a.m. Club, what's one small change you could make starting tomorrow morning to really take control of your day and create a life you love?
Think about the things that resonated with you from the book and pick just one small step to put those ideas into action. Maybe set your alarm for 5 a.m. or do 20 minutes of exercise or block out 90 minutes for focused work on that one project that's most important to you.
Remember, even the smallest steps, as long as you keep taking them, they can add up to amazing things. So take on the challenge, own your morning, and start creating the life you've always dreamed of.
We believe in you. Good luck.
Until next time, thanks for joining us, and keep diving deep.